Hello and welcome to 12-Minute Review. I'll be reviewing Lupin the Third, the First, which is the first 3D animated Lupin the Third movie. So let's get into it. I remember getting introduced to Lupin the Third through a friend, through one of my sister's friends, and like they loved the series, and like that's how I got introduced to it. And like I love Lupin the Third. It's an underrated series, I would say that. Sure, it has its own attraction in Universal Tokyo and its own ride in Universal Tokyo, but it doesn't get as much love as like Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, or any new show that comes out now. And it's usually sort of, in most cases, I would say it's a B, not a B, but a C-list anime at the best. But I love it anyway, even though it doesn't get the recognition that it deserves. Lupin the Third started out as a manga, created by Monkey Punch. And over time, he got his own animated series, and like the series has been going on for quite a long time, and I think it's on its 10th incarnation right now. But let's talk about the characters. The characters are Lupin the Third, who is based off of a character from a book called Arsène Lupin, who is a famous thief. And each of one of Lupin's friends are based off of other characters from Japanese lore or Western media. Like Goemon is based off the famous thief Goemon, who was actually a famous thief who got boiled alive. And that's about it I know about Goemon. Then there's Jigen, Lupin's right-hand man and sharpshooter. Fujiko, the femme fatale of the group, who often betrays or helps them out, willing only to get a price out of something. She's often lumped together with Lupin. And then there's Inspector Zenigata, whose main goal is just to capture Lupin and arrest him and put him in jail for good. Technically each episode of the typical Lupin the Third anime and manga would go like that, where Lupin steals something that's fabled or really wealthy, like, oh, it's the fabled gem, let's steal it, gang. And they'll try to steal it, but then Zenigata shows up, and then Lupin's like, I got an idea to outsmart Zenigata, and then he sets his plan into motion. How I would describe Lupin the Third for new viewers is, think James Bond, but he's a thief, and he's Japanese, but for some reason, he's related to a French guy. That's how I would explain it. Other than that, the movie is about a female, I forgot her name, let's just call her Girl, because in most Lupin the Third movies, there's often like a lead role female that's only one-time use, where they only appear once, or mentioned once. But main girl of this movie, turns out her parents were keeping a secret journal, and her parents get killed, her grandfather gets killed, and there's a bunch of Nazis who are trying to get it so they can, I believe, start World War III. I'm remembering off of memory, but a bunch of Nazis take it. So Lupin himself, he disguised himself at the beginning as a guard to get closer to it, and like the main girl figures it out right away, and that's quick. And she's trying to take the book so she can, because she wants to go to a college or go to a history school so she can like pursue her dream of being like an archaeologist and like study history. But she has to keep doing this for her fake grandpa. He's the one who killed her parents and her grandfather. So she's basically just used as a not a decoy, but just as a errand girl. And she doesn't even know that that's not her real grandfather. She thinks that's her real grandfather until like halfway. So Lupin's in it because, like, Lupin, he steals the most famous treasures and he'll keep it for himself. Lupin's sort of like a Robin Hood, but like I said before, he's like James Bond, where he has a bunch of gadgets. He's great with disguises and stuff like that. I would say he's a mixture of James Bond and Robin Hood. But other than that, Lupin somehow gets entangled with the girl because both of them want to use the book because there's a book that takes them to a secret location of the ancients. But it turns out the ancients are aliens, and they have a machine that can create a black hole. So they have to stop the Nazis from creating a black hole to kill people and use it as like a, bargaining tool. So Lupin, Jigen, Fujiko, Goemon, and Zenigata are all in the ride with main character girl. What I will say is this: the animation looks lovely. Straight up, the animation looks lovely. They took the adaptation of these characters and put them into 3D. Fantastic. They put them so great. Cause like, there's been video games of Lupin the Third, and like, they adapt the characters from 2D to 3D good, but they lack emotion sometimes because they look stiff and they use like live action, live motion capture. They use motion capture for most of the games. But this, I can feel the stretch and squash of Lupin, because like, he's a lanky guy. He's quick, he's nimble when he needs to be. But and each character looks fantastic. I've watched the live action Lupin the Third movie, and that just feels like a fan film. This feels like the real deal. I recommend watching this if you're a Lupin fan. But the story overall is the typical Lupin story. You got main girl, you got the MacGuffin, you got a few jokes, and you got the main villain who often kills themselves due to their greed or evilness. And the story's overall simple for most Lupin movies, because let's face it, Japan will crank out movies back to back to back if the franchise is popular. They done it with Pokemon, they done it with Dragon Ball. They did it with Naruto, I believe, and Sailor Moon. They're gonna do it with Lupin. But this movie is a good example of how to take a character from 2D into 3D and adapt them well. Like, there's really a lot of funny bits, and if I had a good time watching it because I wanted to see more. I want to see a sequel, to be honest. The animation feels right. The scenery doesn't feel empty, because like in the beginning when Lupin's like trying to take the book from a fancy party, the people are moving. There's people in the background. There's people on the street. In most 3D movies, they ignore the streets, and like the streets look barren. But they don't. That's one thing that most 3D movies don't have. They don't have like the feeling of civilization, of life, because every scene has to have life. The American voice cast, which I listen to, which fans have dubbed the Redcoat series cast, they do great in this, and it's nice to listen to them again from the original dubs. Other than that, I would have to say I give this movie 4 stars. It's perfect. I mean, I would have given it 5 stars, but like I said before, once you watch one Lupin movie, you sort of understand the plot of each one. If this movie was about like the beginning of Lupin, I would probably give it 5 stars, and like how Lupin meets each and every one of his friends and makes like a adversary with Zenigata, I would have given it 5. But due to the fact that it just followed a simple plot of secret MacGuffin, girl, Lupin's there to save the day, Zenigata gets in the way but then understands and tags along, it's just that. But yeah, if you watch Earwig and the Witch compared to Lupin the Third the First, I would say watch Lupin the Third the First, because it's a better adaptation from its original media. It is. I don't know what else to say. It's a good movie. It's an underappreciated series, because like Lupin the Third doesn't get in the spotlight much, like his Saiyan or his like I said, Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon. He doesn't get into the spotlight as much as the others. But that's sort of good because like at this point, Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon have been overused to the point where they have to keep reinventing themselves. While Lupin the Third just has its formula and just says, "Let's do it again," but add a few things. And like that's it in general for Lupin the Third series. They use the same formula, but somehow make it new every single time. It's like watching what I would say, which I'm gonna make up a new thing called the Tom and Jerry effect, where they do the same thing every single time, but they do it, somehow they make it new each and every time. One time Lupin's in France doing something crazy. The next he's doing something in London, something crazy, or in America. That's what I'm calling the Tom and Jerry effect, where it's the same cat and mouse chase, but in a different location or new different slapstick. And but overall, the Lupin the Third, the first movie, is 4 stars from me. Great animation, decent story, and action. There's action, the animation, the story, all great. If it was an origin story for Lupin, I would give it an extra star. But like I said before, they know their formula. They're gonna use it. So that's about it for me. I hope you watch the movie yourself. Give it a watch. Don't watch a live action one. That, like I said, that feels like a fan film. They didn't do that justice. But thanks again for listening and have a safe day.